Greetings, enlightened ones. Thank you for joining your generic store brand Reverend. In today's video, we're going to be going over day 3 of my acting classes. And if you're wondering why I'm just absolutely down and pissed the fuck off, it's because I am down and pissed the fuck off. So I don't even know where to begin with this. Before we even get into the video, let me just say, if there's one thing about myself that I can say, it's I hold myself at a pretty high standard with most things in life, especially with things I'm learning or things I'm practicing. And when there's something that should be very easy to grasp or very easy to understand, and I'm just not understanding it, I get absolutely infuriated with myself, and I get so pissed where I'm thinking negatively about myself. I think lesser of myself, very unhealthy things. And especially when you've been practicing and you've got it down and you're ready to go, only to be fucking disappointed with yourself. So as you guys know, I made a post on YouTube that I was going to be doing the Reverend Kane scene from Poltergeist 2, where he's walking up to the family's house and basically trying to get into their house and manipulating Steve. I had asked my instructor if this was okay, that I could use, create my own script, because I didn't see a script from the website she wanted us to use. So I had asked her, I was like, hey, can I just rewrite what it is they're saying and just in my own interpretation? I mean, it's pretty much word for word, but it's in a way that I could understand it. And she said yes. I'm like, okay. She did not, however, at least I've looked at this email. I don't know if there's something I'm missing here or what the fuck, but she didn't want us to impersonate or copy the same acting style as, in this case, Henry Kane or whoever it is you're trying to portray. She wanted us to give our own interpretation of how that character would be, which makes sense. The only problem was that this wasn't communicated properly to me, and I was hoping that my instructor would also, because it wasn't in the homework email, but as I was emailing her directly about this, that she would also still, if it was somehow in that email, reciprocate that back to me and tell me, hey, just make sure you understand that you're not copying Julian Beck's performance. You are going to bring out that character in the way that you would portray that character, which I would have approached this totally differently. Luckily, I was able to correct that very quickly, but not masterfully, at least, where I was able to practice it enough, because we were able to practice a little bit on our own in the hallway before our instructor was going to record our performances. But at any rate, I adapted when she told me that in class that I was supposed to come up with my own performance and not copying the actor necessarily. So I was like, okay, well, if I'm supposed to do that, I have to change it up a little bit. So when I was practicing in the hallway, I was like, okay, what is the goal of Henry Kane? What does he want? What does he want to do? And then I realized, his whole goal is to manipulate the family and to get into their house so that way he can further manipulate the family. So his whole end goal is to get into their house. So I thought of a used car salesman. I was like, okay, this guy is a priest, cultist, preacher, whatever you want to call him. His end goal is he wants to get into the house. Okay. Used car salesman. He wants to sell you something. Henry Kane wants to sell you something. He wants to seduce you to get you to agree so that way he can get into the house. Okay. Used car salesman. Think of like Kenneth Copeland, You got a lot of these fake preachers, priests, whatever you want to fucking call them, that basically extort people's faith for money. So that's how I interpreted Henry Kane in the way that I would play him as. So, very malicious, very deviant, and I was able to come up with my own way of producing this character on the fly very quickly in my own way. I was ready to go. This was just an absolute disaster. I don't even know where to begin with this. I've been practicing this all week. I every time I would get home from work, I would immediately try to get into character. Even at work, I'll be turning wrenches. I'll just be working on a car, and I'll just be talking to myself, and just going over the performance of Henry Kane. You know, I'd be like, Reverend Kane, what I sell is free. Mind if I come in and talk to you about it? And I was talking exactly the way that Julian Beck would, you know, and completely just in character, just doing my thing on cars and stuff, and coming home, doing it in the shower, doing it at night, going over it over and over again until I had grasped his performance. So we weren't practicing this with classmates. We had to just kind of do this on our own. If you did have somebody that you could spar with, that's great. It makes it that much easier for you to memorize your lines and memorize your performance in a way. But to tell you the truth, I don't have anybody to like spar with. I don't have anybody to hit up or call that's in this industry that I could rely on. So it's really hard for me to be able to really ingrain this into myself, but I had it down enough to where I felt comfortable. I didn't need a script. The moment I gave my script to my classmate, he was kind of confused for one, and he had to kind of circle his lines, you know, so that way he could reciprocate those lines back to me. The thing that sucks about my classmates, though, is I'm sorry if any of them are watching, which I don't think they know about me, but they really suck at giving emotion. And I understand this is a beginner's course and we're learning, but for someone like me, I really need that emotional reciprocation given back to me. The way that the person's facial expressions are, slight little things that they'll do that gives me cues to know that, hey, this is my next line coming up, you know, like just something, you know. Most of it is the emotional communication that we have back and forth. When you're reading me a line that's fucking flat, I don't know how to work with that, you know. Like I feel like I'm performing to a fucking wall. Like it's very hard for me to perform when the other person's not really performing back. It just feels like they're just reading lines. They're just reciting the lines that they're supposed to be interpreting. And to some defense to my classmate, yeah, he wasn't able to, you know, for one, we weren't practicing with one another. He doesn't know this character. But at least something. You know, you read it and you give something, just some kind of feedback. But I made the biggest mistake because I probably shouldn't have used this male classmate of mine, but rather the female classmate that we have. She's like the only one that seems to have any amount of emotional maturity in terms of understanding their character. So when I next see her, probably Saturday, I might ask her if we could just kind of go back and forth with our lines, you know, because I can't work with somebody that's just going to be flat. It threw me off completely. So before I go into my performance, one last note. My script, it's like the universe wanted to fucking go against me. Like it wanted to completely just fuck me over. Somehow, even though I triple checked it, fucking quadruple checked it before I printed it out, somehow I printed it out where the edits weren't there. They weren't corrected. I looked at my paper, or the script, and noticed that Kane said Steve. Or Steve said it was for Kane. So the characters were flipped on what their lines should be. So that threw my classmate off. So that's totally not on him. That's on me. Somehow that's on me because like I said, I had looked over my fucking script to make sure that it was all correct before printing it out, so that way it wouldn't do something like this. So when it came to actually the auditioning, the in-class audition, I wanted to use this for a reel, like for resume work. That's why I'm so fucking pissed, because this would have been a really good performance, because the way that I was going to deliver it, I think you guys would have probably liked it, at least in my opinion. So when we were doing this, I couldn't even remember my first line. That's how fucking sad this was. I've been practicing this over and over again, but because everything just was a mess, everything was so fast paced, my brain just went scatterbrain. It just, like, my classmate was trying to understand the lines in which he was supposed to recite, so that's already freaking me out. I'm like, oh god, dude, come, it's not fucking rocket science. Just, I told you what you needed to read, and there it is. And then my instructor, like, we're moving all over the place, and I told her, yeah, I want to be at the door, because technically this scene's from a doorway, so I wanted to be at a door. And so everything's just really fast paced and moving around, and so I'm starting to become scatterbrained at this point because it's not structured. Thing with me is I need structure. If I don't have structure, everything falls apart. And I need a good solid pace too. If things are really fast paced and moving all over the place, I start freaking the fuck out. I don't know if that's just an anxiety thing or what you want to call it, but in a way, I guess that's something I need to work on, because the industry doesn't work slow, and a lot of the times it's not very professional either. So at that rate, why am I even here, I guess? But I digress. So yeah, I'm trying to figure out what it is I'm supposed to say, and I completely blank out at the first line. I say, I apologize, ma'am. Can we just redo this? I'm just, for whatever reason, I'm just not here. And so she tried to do it again. And then instead of saying Henry Kane, I said my name, my actual name. And I'm like, bro, what is it that I'm doing, man? Why am I doing this shit? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Try it a third time. Everything was going okay. It was going pretty smooth. And then my classmate completely blanked out because of that script error that I was telling you guys about earlier, where it was supposed to be his line and not my line. So we jumped. Somehow he jumped, and I just worked with it. He jumped and went, "You're my friend," and I said, "Let me in." And then that's when he said no, and then, like, we completely skipped to the end part of the, like, I missed a big chunk of my whole script. And I just rolled with it. We got to the end, and then I got to produce, you're gonna die in there, all of you, you're gonna die. I was like, fuck it, dude, I'm just gonna give this my all at this part. And the way I delivered it, I actually had the woman step back in her chair, because the way I delivered it was so good, at least in my opinion. I think that's how she interpreted that, because, like, I really gave it my all, because that was, like, the best part of Julian Beck's performance, is just when he yells, and he says, like, you're all gonna die in there. If there's one thing I'm pretty powerful with, is my voice and yelling. I know I talk very monotone, but I have a pretty powerful yelling voice, and I can really deliver what it is I mean when I yell. And I feel like a lot of that is internalized anger, so I can really... It's kind of like what I talked to you guys about with being really unhappy with things, and how I want to reproduce that emotion on film as a way of healing, I guess, if that's the best way to put it. So when I yell, it's like it's coming internalized from me and within the character and how he's feeling. So yeah, it was funny. I had some of my classmates kind of pulled back from it because it was pretty powerful, and I felt like that was the best part of it. But it was all for nothing, because we missed such a large portion of the script that it made no fucking sense. And that's when, my instructor just pretty much stopped us, and, I felt absolutely ashamed. I felt pissed. I felt embarrassed, and it's something I definitely don't want to fucking feel again, because I take pride very much into this. Like, it even makes me want to tear up. That's how like pissed off I am. Like, I take a lot of pride in who I'm supposed to be as a character, and when I'm completely fucking myself over, I'm my worst enemy at that point, and it's holding me back essentially. But not only that, but I can't just completely blame this on myself. In a lot of ways, I feel like the class itself is kind of holding me back. Like, think of like Anakin and Obi-Wan from episode 2 of Star Wars, where like Anakin's talking to Padme and he's like, "Yeah, you fucking holding me back," and he throws whatever the fuck he has in his hand. In some way, I feel like this class is also kind of holding me back. I'm learning a lot of um, definitions and key things to this industry, but I'm not really getting the practice in which I need for film, which is what I'm looking for. I feel like I understand how to be something in a particular moment, which is just something that comes natural for me, which I guess is a gift, and I can own up to that gift. But I need an instructor to keep giving us actual hands-on practice. I need like we need more in-class practicing, being able to be more comfortable in a classroom setting that's high, like fast-paced, just all over the place. Because for one, I don't work like that, and I need to be able to overcome those things. And so if we're just practicing one thing a week, and we're not really getting proper feedback one-on-one with our instructor in terms of like I don't know what I'm saying. I think like if we were into groups, like I don't know, we were just paired up with a classmate, and she was just going and walking over to each group and basically going, "Okay, go ahead and try to perform this for me, and I will critique how you guys basically perform this." That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for hands-on critiquing, because that's the only way that I really learn. If it's just going to be like, "Okay, you guys got to practice this over the weekend, and then we'll do it in class," it doesn't feel like I'm really learning. There's no real hands-on experience. There's no real in-person critiquing in that moment that we're actually auditioning or whatever it is, practicing, right? But yeah, I'm not even gonna show any footage. It was just a fucking disaster. I'm not even gonna bother showing any footage of the performance, just because I'm so ashamed of it, and I'm so pissed off at it that I would much rather feel comfortable doing it when I get all my equipment, and I will reintroduce that scene and make a separate video for it to how it should have been when I was actually at school. And I think that would make me feel a lot better, knowing that I was able to produce that in the way that it should have been when I was actually at class. I do have most of my equipment on the way, so much of this lighting, I know the lighting in here has been shitty forever. I do have a softbox coming. I don't know if you guys can see it. Let me see. No, wrong way. Right there on my coffin, that little black bag right there where my kitty cat is. That is the backdrop stand. So I don't know how long this thing's going to be, but I'd imagine the backdrop's going to go from the door all the way past the coffin a bit down the hallway, or somewhere past the fridge maybe. It could maybe just go as far as the coffin and the door, actually. I don't know. We'll find out when we get it. But yeah, I do got the stand for the backdrop. The backdrop's going to be gray. So I do have a gray backdrop coming. And I do have a softbox coming. So when I do get that stuff, the lighting should be a little bit better in here. But not only that, I do plan on reproducing that scene in the way that I was supposed to interpret it. But yeah, just to wrap this all up, I mean, it really just comes down to just feeling inferior, I guess. Like feeling defeated by your own self. A lot of the times I do feel like I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to a lot of things that are holding me back from what I want to succeed in life. But I guess as any typical human being or individual, I guess that's just part of growing in life and trying to overcome those obstacles. Anyways, a little off topic, but on topic-ish in terms of the film industry. The Houston Horror Film Festival will be next Saturday, which I just realized I also have class on that same day. So I don't know how this is going to work. It's going to be a very busy weekend. So my goal, it goes from 10 in the morning all the way to 1 in the morning. So that's pretty crazy. That's pretty much like, was that 14 hours? My goal is I'm hoping to get there by like 10 a.m. And then once I have to go to class, I'll leave at like 1:30 or something, and then race over to class. The thing is, I'm going to be in like a cosplay uniform, like my my Legion cosplay, and I'm going to go to class like that. So it's going to be kind of interesting, but I'm just going to let everybody know, like, hey, I'm attending a film festival, so maybe that'll, I guess, warrant the reason why I'm like that. So I'm still in character in a way. I'm still playing something, but then after class is over, I can then drive back over there and then continue to be a part of the Houston Film Festival, Houston Horror Film Festival. There's a lot of feature films that usually happen at these little film festivals, so that's kind of why I want to be a part of them. And my goal is to hopefully meet people here, as well as finding somebody that I can spar with that is also trying to get their foot in the door within the film industry. So that way, you know, I can have somebody to practice with. Hopefully that's on my level too, in terms of beginners, I guess. So that way I have somebody to converse back and forth with and, you know, really practice my lines with, because they're going to be just as equally as emotionally invested into the roles as I am. So that way it helps me tremendously to be able to get my performances down and also help me memorize my lines, you know, because like I told you guys, it's not about memorizing lines as it is just understanding what's being conversed with you. But if you're not getting, again, any of that emotional connection with the other person, then it's like you blank out. It's like you don't even know what to say, because the performance is solemnly based off of what it is the other person's telling you. And if it's if the way that it's delivered is so flat, then you're gonna have a hard time. But I've already talked about this. I digress. But that's my goal. Is hopefully I meet somebody that is at the Houston Horror Film Festival. So maybe it's one of you guys. I don't know if any of you guys are watching, but yes, I'm in definite need of somebody to basically practice with that is also looking to get their foot into the industry as well. So you already know I'll be there cosplaying as Legion. I'm hoping there is re-entry though, because if there isn't re-entry, then I won't be able to attend until after school, which is about after 4 p.m. Central Time. So that kind of sucks. So I don't know, but they should. It's an event. I mean, as long as if you pay once, you got a wristband, they should allow you to go back in. So I'm hoping by the time I leave class that I'll be able to do that. But yeah, I've said a mouthful. That is going to be it for the video. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or any critique, I'm all ears. I'm hoping next week we have to do a monologue. So I'm going to find another script, I guess, and practice it that I want to do. And hopefully this time it's... at least I don't have to rely on anybody, and it's just something I have to memorize, so that's going to be a little beneficial to me. But yeah, you guys have a good rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.